Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pei.
And welcome. You are tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports Radio Station, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Rumble, Podchaser, Spreaker, and about 28 more platforms. Why? Because I want a maximum splatter zone for more hope and happiness for you. And that's what this show's about. So there's no gossip, no scandal, and no K words. No Kanye talk at all. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. And so I have topics and guests and series to help you with that. And today's no exceptions. One of my most popular series called Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and... Oh, your volume is off. Let's see if I can't... No, your mic, I don't hear you. Maybe it's on my end. Let's see. Make sure we want to hear, because this is like super important information. I want to make sure you're on. Let's see. Try now, Sam, and speak. Nope, still not hearing you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
There we go. Gotcha. I don't know, whatever you just pressed, it worked. Fantastic. So I am delighted to have Sam Works, my co-host, with me, and we do Straight Talk. We basically talk about everything. I know it's a little early in the morning, but we are almost on the weekend, so we do tend to talk about some scintillating topics: relationships, romance, sexual healing, sexual tension, all of that kind of good stuff. And it's been wonderful having you, Sam, as my co-host. Please welcome him back to the studio. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing, Dr. Marissa?
I am happy and grateful, as usual, because it's a choice. And we're going to start. Thanks for rolling in. I see the eyeballs rolling in. Please do play along with us. We love to hear where you are when it comes to the topics that we pick. And we're doing part 2 of how important is sex, which sounds like a stupid question. I was writing it this morning, but we've covered the terrain of, I think, age and if it changes, gender differences and what's important for men and women. I have a couple of updates on that because I took that question to the street this week when I was doing Dr. Marissa reporting live on location. So that's the topic that you can weigh in on. And but before we do that, as usual, we start every show with taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich for breakfast. And that's what we're going to start off with. And then we'll get into the juicy stuff, literally. So top of the bun, 8 specific gratitudes. We're training you to focus on good things. Sam, why don't you start?
Okay. One thing that I'm grateful for is, having a job and being able to, not live with my parents, but living my own life in the way I want to live.
I am grateful that my kids are out of college, living together, driving each other crazy, but living together in San Francisco and living their life in a wonderful way.
Another thing that I'm grateful for is the gym, because that is one of my happy places where I can just get away and just bang out some weights, you know?
I'm grateful that I can roll out of bed and go to a gym downstairs so I don't have to. So before my head engages and says, my bathing suit says I need to work out, but my sweatpants say, nah, it's okay. You can stay in bed.
Still got some more room in your sweatpants. Another thing that I'm grateful for is food. I love food. I love cooking food, and it makes, everyone's day just a little better. So,
what's your best known dish besides yourself?
well, you know what? The other night I made some spicy steak curry, so that was pretty good.
Wow. First time
Yeah,
trying that?
first time, and everyone enjoyed it. So I was like, you know what?
Wow. That
That's
goes
on my
into
menu.
the Yeah, it goes into the I do my I've been making abundance brownies, and what that is there's no 420 or anything in there, but when I'm stirring and mixing it, I stir in abundance and prosperity and love, joy, peace, harmony, and all of that. So that's when you eat it, you feel all of those things. All right, and I'm grateful for Mm, my ability to be one with my food and enjoy it. I do love good food. And I love if people love watching me eat because it's kind of ridiculous. Like I literally look like I'm having a Harry Met Sally moment when I'm eating.
When you're-
I actually had a guy who took me out and said, we went on a couple dates, and then I was just not feeling any kind of physical attraction to him. So I told him, I'm going to friend zone you, but I'm happy to go out because he enjoyed good food too. And, you don't have to pay, we'll go Dutch. And he goes, oh no, I would love to pay just for the privilege of watching you eat. I've never seen anyone enjoy their food as much as you do. So that was kind of cool.
Dang, that's
Now you're
I
gonna
got.
want to now you're gonna want to go out and eat with me. Actually, I've heard that you can tell how someone makes love by the way they eat their food. Have you heard that before?
No,
Okay.
I haven't, but I'm gonna keep my eyes out for that one now.
Yeah. Dining is gonna never be the same again. If you're dining and dating, you're not going to be looking below the chin. You're going to be looking above the chin.
Yeah, that's funny.
All right. How many are we at? One
We got
more.
one. Um, One thing that I'm grateful for is my beauty sleep. You gotta have it. It's necessary. It's part of the balance.
I'm grateful that I don't need as much sleep as I used to. If I get 5 good hours, then I'm good. And that means more hours to enjoy my life.
I like that.
And that's the top of the bun. And we're going to go to the bottom of the bun of the gratitude sandwich. And that's 8 specific things that we like about ourselves, we appreciate about ourselves. And the reason why I force you to do this is because one of the reasons why people are not happy is they don't like themselves. That seems to be a foundational phenomena. And when people come to me for coaching, they have that really strong critical voice that tells them they're not all that. They're never going to make it. Look at all the things you screwed up yesterday. And in order to get rid of that voice, we have to have a stronger voice that affirms the goodness of who we are. And so it's a muscle and we got to work it. And that's why the bottom of the bun is, what do I appreciate about myself? Because if you can't appreciate yourself, how the fork do you expect other people to do so? So, Sam, what is something that you appreciate about yourself?
One thing that I appreciate myself is my self-improvement, and that's something I've been working on strongly recently more than other times. So I'm actually really happy that I'm on this path. So
I appreciate that I have an eye for fashion.
ooh, that's pretty good.
Thank you.
I appreciate all the talents that I have. I'm a jack of all trades, but a master of none. And
No,
it's always, yeah, you know, go ahead.
you're a jack of all trades and a master of all. That's my new thing. I hate it when people say that to me because it's a backwards compliment, and it's an old BS belief system that you can only do one thing well, and that's a really slim pick in life if that's what you think, because then you spend this entire, I have 8,000 more days. I'm only going to hone one thing that I do. No, life is about expanding and growing and trying everything. And so that's my new thing. Jack of all trades and master of all.
You know what, Dr. Marissa, I might have to take your advice because you're not using it. But that
But I'm bummed.
is unfinished. I think the folk quote is Jack of all trades, the master of none is always better than a master of one. Right? Because you can be a master at building glass, but what's glass if you can't build a house, or whatever, things like
All
that.
right. All right. I'll allow it. Good. And you're a poet and you know it.
All right.
That could be an appreciation.
It could be.
Yeah. Is it my turn? I appreciate that. Oh, it's my turn. I appreciate that I love to win.
Ooh. I appreciate that what would you call it? My emotion doesn't change when I lose. Like, I don't get upset.
You're not a sore loser. Yeah.
I'm not a sore loser.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't say that. I definitely am a great winner. I'm not such a great loser, but I get over it pretty quick. Like, I'm not like the person who just storms off or anything like that. So, all right. And last appreciation for me, I appreciate that I'm balanced. I know how to have fun. I'm a recovering workaholic, but I definitely, every other Friday I play Mexican Train. Most Wednesdays I get to go and play mahjong because I work on the weekends, and that gives me some balance.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yay.
See,
there. Go ahead.
The last thing that I appreciate about myself is that I'm very loving, and I think that's important.
Absolutely. I got that from you even before I met you in person. But we're going to talk about that too, first impressions, because Sam and I got to meet each other for the first time in 3D, live in body last week, and we forgot to talk about it on the show. But last appreciation, I appreciate that I am funny. I'm witty. Even though my husband told me every single day just about that I was not. So best thing about divorce is I own my funny.
Okay.
And you beat me to the button. All right, that was our normal opening, Breakfast with Sam and I. And if you've just tuned in or your eyeballs are just rolling in, you are tuned into Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and
Sam Works. Every
weekday Thursday morning. And we're talking about how important sex is. And I'll weave that part two. And I'll weave that into our meeting as far as, no, we did not have sex the first time we met. But I thought it was interesting how we've known each other now. Let's see, when did you come on board at KCIA?
last year of March.
Last year of March. And you became my sound engineer, I think, pretty soon after that, if not right away.
It was honestly kind of recently. I've been
No,
working
not as co-host, but I mean my sound engineer.
in the beginning of this year.
Okay. So
Yeah.
for 10 months, you've been my sound engineer. And I had a really good connection with you on the phone. I had a good connection on you when you were in studio helping me. It was a pretty easy, um, uh, work relationship, right?
Mm.
And then I started making you talk behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, and that was fun. And so then I had this idea to bring on co-hosts, and I thought you would be a great co-host. And that's how it started. And we saw each other. So do you remember the first time we saw each other on camera?
Yeah, we FaceTimed and you showed me your house.
I did.
You
I don't remember that. Did I show you my bedroom?
No.
Oh, okay. I was like, wow. Okay. But so I'm getting uncomfortable here. I don't remember that part. But anyways, so there was a connection, and we are both straight and we are both single. So that's why we called the series Straight Talk, for lack of anything better, and then decided that was a good one. And I'm going to put you on the spot. Would you say that there was some, little bit of physical attraction there,
You are
even though
funny.
I'm ageless? Because I'll say yes for me. I mean, you're cute and you're smart and and the more that we did the series, the more I became more attracted to you in your mind. Okay. And you're really not bad to look at. I wouldn't kick you out of bed for eating crackers. So it was interesting because then I only saw him, I made him come on, not come on camera, so that I hope your mom's not listening. It's so funny, those naughty videos that we had from the Newport Beach Film Festival when we were dancing. It's the funniest thing because we were like messing around and like, pretending to do this. He started it, by the way, with the air flaps. And then you could hear your mom as she's taping. She's like, oh my, oh no. And it's and then so I had to do it back. And she's such a wonderful mom. I mean, she made it so easy. She was so nice, I have to say. And I just love her. And I gave her kudos for raising you to be the gentleman and the caring person that you are. So kudos to mom.
Yeah, it's actually really funny. I never took my mom out to a place like that before. And I didn't second guess myself, honestly. Like I was pretty relaxed, like having my mom there. I was pretty relaxed, like meeting you for the first time in person. It felt like we already had like a natural connection. It was very genuine, right? Like when we saw each other, it wasn't like, oh hi, like nice to meet you,
Yeah.
like blah blah. Like, hey, like come on the carpet, blah blah. Like let's start talking and start hanging out. And so it felt like as if we already went and hung out multiple times, in our lives. And so it was very easy for us, like especially when like people started going on the dance floor. Like we did not hesitate to go out and dance. And that's definitely one of the first things that people get nervous about when they're around each other, and eating food in front of each other, and just like the whole 9 yards. It was like as if we already done this multiple times.
Yeah. Very
And
comfortable. Very comfortable.
because I don't think I would ever like air slap someone like like that. if I wasn't comfortable with them, and vice versa. You know, like first of all, you're the first person that ever air slapped me back. Okay, so let's just put that out there.
Wait, I need some applause for that one. Hold on. I was telling him this morning, I was surprised on my reels that I put a polka up with an older woman that I met at the film festival, and it got like over 1,000 views. And Sam slapping, I thought was going to go, crazy, like 5,000, like some of my other ones, and it's only got 50. Like, what's going on? But maybe I was joking that I have another one I'll put up where I'm slapping him. That one will probably go into the thousands for sure.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
yeah. So were you attracted? Was there any of
Um,
that?
you know, I would say you look better in person.
Oh,
I'm not saying you look bad in camera, but in person, I was like, oh wow, like that's Dr. Marissa. Okay, that's cool. You definitely look younger too in person, maybe because you got all dolled up. But yeah, it was a good thing. It was nice seeing you. So
yeah. And the reason why I thought this was a good thing to talk about out loud was it does speak to the where dating is now. Not saying we're not dating, just in case you're wondering. Um, he's cute and everything, but he's too old for me.
you even told my mom that. I was like, oh man.
I know, her face just, she's like, oh, okay.
So
It's my standard joke, and guys will be like, what? Totally insulted. But it's a joke. And this is the thing about me. I love flirting because it just is so fun, and I'm very I'm not shy in the sense that I'll pretty much say anything. But you know that about me. Anybody who's been following the show for any amount of years in this 9.5 years knows I pretty much will say anything. That's one of the good things and not so good things about me. I'm very direct, especially when it comes to dating. And case in point, I don't know if you saw that interaction. I think it was on opening night. There was a guy who was chatting me up with a little group, and there was like 2 women, 2 guys, and we were talking, and he kept asking me questions, and I said, before we continue talking, are you single?
dang.
And he goes, no, I'm married. And I go, and is your wife here? And he goes, yeah, she's right here. I go, good. Now I know the lay of the land. I'm sorry, I have to go. Because I don't have time to waste. But I say it because my flirtatious side of me, sometimes people mistake that for I'm really interested in pursuing something. And that expression, my bark is worse than my bite. I really I'll push it and be like outrageous, and then as soon as there's reciprocation, I'm like out of there. Which is horrible because people say, well, that's teasing, and I say, well, I don't mean it to be teasing. I mean it to it's fun for me. But then as soon as somebody actually wants to reciprocate, I get nervous or uncomfortable. A
See,
part
that's
of
where,
it, mostly because I did that to myself, because I set it up that way. And
yeah,
so and I can't live up to my flirt because I sound like I'm gonna, you're gonna hit a home run in the next hour. And the truth is, the only thing I am looking for is just the fun in that moment.
yeah, I mean, subconsciously, you know that nothing's gonna happen, so you can take it as far as you want. But the moment someone starts to fall for you, or thinks he's gonna get a home run, then he lost the game. And after that, it's game over. Like he struck out. And it's fun too because I'm a natural flirt, and usually what I tell people, girls specifically, it's like, hey, if you think I'm flirting with you, I'm just being nice. But if you think I'm weird, then I'm probably flirting with you, And it's like when I try to flirt, it doesn't really work. But if I'm just out there having fun, making jokes and like just touching you in like funny ways, then like they all assume that, that I'm really into them. But really it's just the fun of practicing and just like seeing how far we can go without actually going that far.
Now, is that a good thing or a not good? Not good, or is that useful or not useful?
It's definitely useful. Let me tell you why. Because
Okay, tell me why.
it is all practice until that time comes, right? So
Literally comes?
so imagine that day where it's like you really want this person, you're really into them, but you never flirted before. You never knew how to, read body language. You never knew how to, whisper in their ear right, or, like touch them in the right places without going too far or doing too little. And so I always tell my friends, like, even if they're not like the hottest girl in the room, like I'm still gonna talk to them. I'm still gonna, use some funny lines and like flirt with them a little bit just for the sake of like practice. And I know that I know that sounds kind of like player-ish.
Aren't you using them? Aren't you using them?
Well, it's not intentional. But hey, if it makes them feel good, it makes me feel good, and we move on with our lives. It's not like I'm like, hey, I'm trying to get into your pants. Let me see if this works. It's just like, hey, how you doing? You look nice. Like you have to learn how to appreciate a woman, how to make them laugh before you go out there and like really try to do that.
Right, right.
So
Well, I think that as long as the intent is not to be malicious, but it's like, where's the line between a player, right, and trying to like we've been talking about before, the guys that go, and mostly it's guys, even though younger women seem to be able to just separate out the sex and wham bam, thank you ma'am, and both are physically satisfied, and then go on your merry or not so merry way. By the way, I did ask several women, and not one single woman of any age said, yes, I can do that. And I asked like 8 women this week.
do the like one
To be able to do a one night stand, and not. They said, I thought I could, but I can't anymore. So that's the update on that. But yeah, where's the line between being a player and just like going and sowing your whatever oats at the bar, after the bar, and just having a good time or hanging out, and you know basically what we're talking about, flirting with people, making them think that we're into them, and then sort of dropping them like.
I think once things start to get personal, right? Because once things start to get personal, then you really start to open up. It's not just the cliche like, hey, how's your day? Whoop-de-whoop. It's more like, okay, he really wants to know me. I think that he's really into me. And then that's when the mindset starts to change. But like if you get their name, cool. But if you get their number, you find out about how many like siblings they have, or like what their last name is, their birthday, like that's when it starts to get serious.
Yeah.
But if you're using that temporarily and then jumping on to the next, then that's when you start playing with people's emotions, and that's when you start becoming a player. And I think a lot of guys don't know how to have that introduction without getting personal, because they don't know what else to say, like it's always like, oh, what's your name? Oh, do you like, where do you live? Blah blah. What's your, like they automatically get personal in the first 10 questions. And what is this, 21 questions? Like it's not. You're just here to talk, compliment them, like you don't have to go into detail about their lives, and you don't even have to give them details about your lives, because stranger danger, you never know. What's your perspective?
Good point. It's I guess I want to give myself permission for what I do with the flirting. Like at face value, it seems harmless, but I don't want to be a person who leads people on and then, crushes. Not saying that I have the power to do that, but just, where does that line of honesty and authenticity come in? Right. So when I think back, I think one of the reasons is, and of course, as usual, I live out loud. And I'm going to tell you things that I'm not necessarily proud of. But I remember in my first job, I had a senior partner or a director level, and I was working with him and several other men, and he was older, and he said after I think 3 months of working with him, he asked to have a private meeting, and he said, "I just have to tell you that I'm in love with you." And I was like broadsided, and I had to look at, was I flirty with him? I probably was. And did I do it to gain anything? And I think if I'm really, put the moose on the table, which is my Canadian version of elephant in the room, women in my ageless category that maneuvered the transition from mostly men in leadership in the workplace, and then more and more women came into the workplace, and then women began to move up the ranks in the workplace, and we had to, we weren't the pioneers who had to dress like a man, talk like a man, be like a man, but we also weren't at that level of, well, what is our value in the workplace as women when it's so male dominated? And do we use our feminine, flirty, attraction to get ahead? Do we use that intentionally or unintentionally to charm our way into the boys' club, right? Can we do it without doing that? And I have to be honest, I think for many women in this category, it was a learning experience. Am I being valued for my contribution as a woman in this playing at the big table when we've never played at the big table before? So how do we assert ourselves? How do we become a strategic partner without offending men who some of them have peripherally located egos? How do we be assertive without being labeled a beach, which is something that happened a lot, right? They do studies, and if assertive man is assertive, aggressive man is assertive, an aggressive woman is a beach. So I had to look at that. I felt bad. I said to him, "I'm so sorry that if I have done anything to make you feel like I was available for you in that way, I apologize. Do I own that I may have flirted with you in a way that was not appropriate? I'll own that." And it was I crushed. I mean, you could just see how sad and disappointed, and that will stay with me for the rest of my life. I apologized, but my only defense is that I didn't know what I was doing. Now I know what I'm doing. And now I'm saying, I'm pretty good at, when I start flirting with someone, I will say, like, within the first 3 minutes, by the way, my bark of flirting is way more than my actual bite of commitment. So that makes me feel like I've set the stage. So
See, and with me, like, I'm still learning that as well, because even if I say that, like, hey, like, my bark is, louder than my bite, I would come back and be like, I don't bite, but I lick. You know what I mean? And just like continue just that flirtation, And it's like, even though I tell them, hey, I'm not trying to do that, like I still make it seem like I am. And I think that's where I need to really work on that a little bit because I don't want to lose that momentum of like, I'm like, we're on a roll right now, like she's like super like into it. I'm super into it. Like, let's just keep it going. And I don't want to be like, let's put the brakes on it, because once that happens, it's like, it pretty much like it shuts down the whole system.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so what happened after you told them that, like after you realized that you
It was so awkward. It was so
yeah.
awkward meetings, when we were together. I think before, I was actually doing my internship there. And when my internship finished, I stayed on until I moved to Europe, and I consulted with that company. And um, before I left, we were okay. We were like, it was still a little awkward, and I think it will always be sort of awkward. But I think most of all, it was a good lesson for me. And you learn. Sometimes you learn the hard way, and that definitely was learning, not that hard, but the hard way, so that I am much more cognizant of, what I'm doing. And I think that also, I was single, I had never been married. I am I am a it's an enigmatic. I rarely use that word. Maybe that's the right word. It's tough because it seems like I am so um, out there, very, very, no holds barred, and free flowing, especially when it comes to sex and romance and relationships, and very strong and taking the lead. And in actual fact, I am like Pillsbury Doughboy. I'm afraid to get squished. I'm afraid to get poked. I'm afraid to get, literally, I'm afraid, I have this dual, thing going on. And so it's most likely still continuous ongoing healing from a really less than optimal marriage, a horrific divorce, my body image from being called fat, ugly, and clumsy growing up, being validated by marrying someone who introduced me as obese to people who didn't know me. I still carry those scars, and I think that keeps that shield up, keeps that wall up from actually having something meaningful. Like, I will flirt with you from now until eternity, until we go off the air, if we ever go off the air, because it's fun for me. And as much as I can tease you and as much as I can flirt with you, I know that it's never going to happen. Sorry. Not that you wanted it to happen, but that freedom makes it easier for me to flirt with you. When someone is an actual contender, and I start flirting with them and they come back at me, I'm out of there.
I think I'm on the same boat. It's kind of like knowing that things can go somewhere puts me a little bit more on edge. You're like, oh man, well, I didn't really want this to happen, but here we go, and then it makes you backtrack a little bit. So.
Yeah. So for I think we are good examples of, it's fun, and the flirting is not harmless, but it's not harmful. It is what it is. It's fun. Are you a little tingly when we flirt? I'm putting him on the spot.
When when it comes to you flirting, I expected more that night. I ain't gonna lie.
Really? You thought I
maybe
would flirt with you more?
maybe because it was Queenie and my mom or whatever the case may be. But you're all bark no bite, and I was like, all right, let's see. But you know what? I think it was the perfect measure of being respectful, being nice, and just having fun, because those three things are very important, especially like quote unquote on like the first date or like the first time you meet someone.
Right.
And so it was definitely, I didn't feel nervous at all, and I didn't feel like nothing was like pressured. So it was I got to enjoy the night. There's nothing that I was like worried about at all, except for going on that little 360 video thing that's made me nervous a little bit. But
Oh, did it?
and dancing, like when we first went on the dance floor and then the music stopped as soon as we went out there, I was not ready to dance. I was like, wait, time out. And then you were like, come on, let's go. And I was like, all right. And then the music stopped. I was like, whoo, just on time.
You weren't warmed up enough.
I was not.
That's so
And,
funny.
and props to you, Dr. Marissa, because even though there was free drinks, you just got soda water with some juice in it. And like that's something that that kind of like brought me back a little bit, because a lot of girls like and guys, I'm usually like this, but it's like I need a drink before anything starts happening. Like I need to loosen up. I need that liquid courage. But for someone who doesn't need that, that just shows that they're strong. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like mentally and physically. So they don't need that in order to have fun. They don't need that in order to flirt. So it was
I'm
cool.
naturally high, is how I put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for
Yeah, you
that.
bro.
It's actually, I don't have a choice, but I've been 13 and a half years sober now, and it's one of the best things that ever happened to me. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's my next step, is to not drink anymore, because I don't feel like I need it. And since the topic is about how important is sex, I had some embarrassing moments in my life where I was a little too drunk, and it just doesn't work out. And it's like some of those times you kind of regret it. You're like, man, I wish I didn't drink that much, or I wish I didn't drink at all. And but things happen for you and not to you, so maybe it's like it keeps my number low or something. Maybe I'll never know the reason, but yeah, drinking is, it can help in bed, but at the same time, if you have too much, if you abuse it, then it doesn't at all. So
Yeah. Yeah. If you've just tuned in and you're wondering why we're talking about sex and drinking and flirting and dancing, it's because you are tuned into Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and
Sam Works.
co-host of the most, in this time where we get to be real about romance and flirting and sexual attraction, and how important sex is the actual topic. And it segued into our first impressions when we actually met each other physically at the Newport Beach fabulous Pacific Showcase that I get to be part sponsor of. We're not going to go to full break, but I did want to do a little commercial for the Saban Theater. And I'm just going to, let's see, do I have it up? I do. And just share the screen, because they are one of my favorite show sponsors, who provides Asian Oprah giveaway tickets to different shows. And it's not on here because it's actually tonight, but I do have 2 more free tickets to the Belinda Carlisle concert tonight. I don't know if you are spontaneous enough. I meant to tell you this before, Sam. I did offer a pair of tickets to Polly yesterday, but she's the one that sings "Heaven is a place on earth. Ooh, baby," that one. So she's at the Saban Theater tonight. Saban has a fabulous lineup of artists that are coming up, and I wanted just to highlight some: Gordon Lightfoot, Engelbert Humperdinck, The Temptations. And if you want to see my backstage interview with them, just go to my YouTube channel. Kenny Loggins, Paul Anka, huge names, Neil Sedaka, Judy Collins. I know I gave away tickets for that. Unfortunately, she broke her arm, so that concert was canceled, but she's coming back in June. There's, let's see, Carol Burnett. So tons of great artists at the Saban Theater. I hope that you will take advantage and go buy tickets at saban.org or Where Music Meets the Soul Productions. Thank you so much, Dana, for continuing to give out tickets. If you want that pair of tickets to Belinda Carlisle tonight, just go to drmarissa.life and in the subject line, put sex, because today that's what we're talking about. So thank you so much to the Saban. And we're back here on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, and my YouTube channel I just mentioned, where you free subscribe. You get a link and a little alarm every morning at 8 weekdays for this show about hope and happiness. And let's see how we're doing on time. As usual, we are already 9 minutes away from closing. What else did you want to?
I have to. Let me answer this phone real quick.
Okay,
I'm on the
so
chat.
I'll throw it back to me, and Sam has to double. He's doing a double job, both sound engineer and at the station, and my co-host. So kudos to him. But I am. We talked about sex and how often is a good relationship. How often do you have sex? And I remember when I was in therapy with my husband, the number that was being bandied around was 2 to 3 times a week. I'm going to look that up. Average, just out of curiosity, average number of times you have sex in a week. Let's see if this splits it up nationally. Let's see. Once a week is common baseline. Experts say the statistics depend slightly on age. 40 plus and 50-year-olds tend to fall around that baseline, with 20 to 30-year-olds tend to average twice a week. And that is from, where is that? US Day Today. So that's an interesting statistic. And I would say that it also depends, you were talking, Sam, about when you've had alcohol and you may not be performing as well as you normally would expect yourself to perform. I think too that erectile dysfunction is something that does happen to men. I had my first experience with someone I was dating that had that. It was one of those, like, you hear about it with the commercials and you sort of half laugh about it and you don't realize it's actually happening, and it does happen. So it was a wake up call, and I honestly didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know, I didn't know whether to, it's okay. I was on one of those few times where I'm speechless. So I know it took a second. Is it me? Like, am I not attractive enough? That insecurity to turn them on, or what is that? So I think that acknowledging that it is real, and that with age comes that. I don't know, comes that, or doesn't come that. It is. I'm going to look that up. Go ahead and talk. I know you want to say something.
Yeah. And that's something that is real, and some people do have to deal with. And at some point, some people have to understand, like, if someone is really hyperactive in like sex and stuff, and there was someone who has that problem, as that person, sometimes you do have to accept it because, accept them like on both ends, on both sides of the scales. Because if someone who's hyperactive on sex and stuff is with someone who has ED and just can't perform either at all or very rarely, then it doesn't help them in any shape, way, or form, as well as the other partner. And it's like you can feel the energy in the room, and you can start to understand like this is not going to work out. And sometimes it's best to go what pleases you the most, because if you don't have pleasure in life, then life sucks, and that's just the way it is. And for someone who does have that problem, it's not like the end of the world, but there are people out there that are accepting of that. But if you're with someone who's just like, who needs it all the time and who's going crazy because they can't have it, or they're not getting, like put off, then it really starts to, psychologically mess with the relationship. And it happens, so
Yeah.
you got to find the right partner in that case.
Yeah. Take a guess at what percent, this is from Healthline, what percent, before I put it on the screen, what percent of men, I was surprised, actually experience some form of ED, erectile dysfunction?
I'm going
Take
to
a
say
guess.
23%.
Here we go on the share. Look at that. 52%. Are you
52?
surprised? 52%.
Okay,
Is
this
that
has
crazy? Is
there's
that
no
crazy?
look, there's no correlation to this, but 52% of marriages get divorced. So I'm not saying that's why. I'm just laughing.
Yeah. Well, let me just finish reading this, and then let's see. Oh no, I've got the wrong tab up. Here we go. This is the one. It says 52% of men experience some form of ED, and that total ED increases from about 5 to 15% between ages 40 and 70. Though the risk of ED increases with age, it is still possible for young men to experience ED. Wow. That I'm like, that's surprising to me. I did not realize it was that prevalent. So yeah. And to my final word, and I'm going to ask you for yours, is I do believe sex is an important glue for all relationships. And you may not need to have a home run when you're older. Like George Burns said, when his people asked him when he turned 90 if he still had sex, and he said that would be like shooting pool with a rope. So you don't need to do home run, but any kind of base work, I think, is important if you want to have a successful relationship. That's my final word on how important sex is. Yours?
Yes, I think intimate touch is very important, even if you guys don't go all the way. It's just another way of expression, and it really, like you said, it glues the other person together, because you have that connection with someone through conversation, you have that connection with someone through, maybe dreaming about them, but it's different when there's that touch, that touch that not everyone gets to do to the other person. It's very intimate, and it really shows a different type of attraction towards the other person. So
Thank you, Sam. We're out of time. This is Dr. Marissa and co-host
Sam Works,
reminding you it's all about balance. Peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace. Next week, we're going to talk about the wants and needs of relationships. So make sure you tune in tomorrow. It is Fired Up Fridays with Dr. Marissa and Cynthia Kahi. Now go and have the best day ever.